Welcome to the NintenFusion podcast, a podcast that fuses past, present, and future Nintendo thought. I'm David, accompanied by my friend Jordan. Now, Jordan, what do you call a red Pikmin that goes for a little swim?
A dead Pikmin.
Oh, you got it. Got it in one.
Although you can save Pikmin that are in the water. In fact, that's one of the speedrun strats for the first Pikmin game.
Yeah.
You can technically get every single treasure in the first area in one day.
Right. And it's all about just throwing them into the water and then whistling them across and you're good to go.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess that just really introduces the topic of today's episode. We're going to be talking about Pikmin, especially since Nintendo decided to shadow drop Pikmin and Pikmin 2 HD, along with, of course, the Pikmin 4 demo that came out, well, I guess yesterday with a nice long trailer. So we'll talk about Pikmin 1 and a little bit about the Pikmin 4 trailer. How's that sound?
Yeah. The trailer and also the demo.
Yeah, a little bit about the trailer.
Because we already talked about the trailer.
Well, they gave us the long overview video, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, we can talk about that.
There's not too much, I think, that's new in that, but we can at least mention it. So, but anyway, Jordan, why don't you start telling us about Pikmin 1? What is Pikmin? What's the premise?
So I was pretty excited when Pikmin 1 was shadow dropped for the Switch. I wish it was released a few months earlier so that we had a bit more time before Pikmin 4. There's not going to be a lot of people who blitz through the entire franchise in a month.
We can. I'm so tempted to pull out 3 now.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with 2.
Yeah. So Pikmin 1 is pretty short, but it's a lot more focused on like the core gameplay loop than the other Pikmins are. Pikmin's a game, if you don't know, it's pseudo RTS in a way. You're not building bases or anything like that, but you're managing like a bunch of workers and from a top down view, sort of like that. It's about a game where Olimar crash lands on Earth and has to collect all of his parts for his ship so that he can escape before he runs out of oxygen or whatever kind of like air system they use.
Yeah.
And so he has 30 days to do that. And there's a day-night cycle so that you have to like time like how to get these parts in time and all that stuff.
Yeah, and each day is about 15 minutes. So it's a doable chunk of time, but it's certainly not a super long amount of time, right? Right.
When I was a kid, it was a lot harder. I remember when I was really young, my first playthroughs, it was actually kind of a struggle to get done by day 30. And I think once you hit like day 20 or day 25, like Olimar's like, I guess we don't need all the parts. Let's just move on to the end.
He starts mentioning in like Perplexing Pool that there are probably some parts that he doesn't need, but you don't know which parts they are until the very end. Some of them are absolutely necessary, but there are some optional ones. And the optional ones are actually some of the harder ones to get anyway. So, but yeah, there are 30 plus treasures, I think, in the game.
I think there's exactly
not
30.
Treasures. Yeah, exactly 30 ship parts. That's what it is. Treasures aren't until the next game.
Yeah, 30 ship parts, 30 days. The idea is that you're supposed to have a pace of 1 per day, although you probably want a couple days for the final boss if it's your first run.
Yeah, the final boss can be incredibly punishing if you don't know what you're up against. But I think it's, like you said, it's just a really fun little pseudo RTS game. But what really kind of gives it its charm is that you're controlling these tiny little Pikmin creatures, and you have 3 different types of them. You've got the red Pikmin, which are basically the Pikmin that you're going to be using for fighting the most, simply because they deal the most damage per second. And they're also immune to fire, which is really helpful, especially in some of the later levels where there are unstoppable fire spouts. And then you get the yellow Pikmin, and the yellow Pikmin can carry bomb rocks, and that's pretty useful. And
they can also be thrown higher.
Yeah, exactly. They can also be thrown much higher. I think Olimar specifically says it's because they have like long ears or something. It makes them more aerodynamic,
which is not
hilarious.
True.
No,
Olimar is not a scientist.
No, he's not. He's an explorer, and he honestly works for a really crappy company. So take that with a grain of salt. And then of course you have the blue Pikmin, which are the last ones that you end up getting, and they can breathe underwater. So you can use them to go through all sorts of water puzzles and carry things across the water. And kind of like we joked at the beginning, the red and the yellow Pikmin cannot swim in the water. They start to drown. You can save them with your whistle, but that can be very tricky. If they're in the water too long, they just drown and die. So you got like some very interesting puzzle mechanics and solving to do, where you have to have certain numbers of Pikmin on your squad. And on top of that, you also have to defeat enemies and carry their corpses back to your base to make more Pikmin, right?
Yeah, which is really fun. I believe Miyamoto was inspired by ants in his backyard while he was gardening. And so when you get these long chains of Pikmin carrying back corpses, it definitely does feel like you're commanding a bunch of ants in a way.
It's really great. I don't know, like there's just something super fun about playing these games, and they're incredibly charming. It has that GameCube era charm in its design. Like, you know, I talked last week when we talked about Pikmin 4 a little bit about how much it feels like Chibi Robo. And I really do feel like even Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2 have a lot of the Chibi Robo vibes, if only because you're a tiny little guy commanding tiny little creatures in environments where there are gigantic objects around you.
Yeah. Nintendo was pretty creative with their IPs up through the GameCube. The Wii, when they started getting like commercial success with the Blue Ocean crowds, they kind of became a bit more corporate with handling their properties. But
yeah, but I don't know. I think that Pikmin's great. And we talked about enemies. What are some of your favorite enemies to fight, Jordan? You know, you got the bull bears and the bullbaxes and all that stuff. Like, what really excites you about combat in Pikmin?
I really like spiders. Just any kind of spider. So my favorite spiders are in the second game, but in the first game, I do like the really large ones that just kind of like fall down, just because they kind of like come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
they're usually not there, and you are like prepared for them. They fall from the sky and like surprise attack you, and then just start stomping around and killing lots of Pikmin. I really like enemies that are capable of killing lots of Pikmin.
Of course you would.
I want to see death. I want to see just swarms of Pikmin dying.
Yeah, I don't like hearing the sounds of them screaming when they've been smashed, though. they just scream into the void, and you're just like, I'm so sorry, I let you down. Every time I boot up Pikmin, I'm like, I'm gonna do a deathless run, and then that never happens.
Oh yeah, no, I don't care about deathless. I think I had like 400 deaths by the end of my playthrough of Pikmin 1.
Yeah, my last playthrough of the HD one, I managed, I think, like 200 deaths or something, because at one point I was just like, okay, I don't care anymore. Like, I could just make more of you. It's fine. There's nectar everywhere to get the flowers. Yeah. It's all good.
Pikmin are replaceable.
They are. They're supposed to be. That's why you can carry back their corpses and make more. But yeah, I just really have always enjoyed Pikmin. I remember I never had a copy of the GameCube game myself until much later growing up. I played at like a couple of friends' house. I thought it was really interesting. And of course, like you just kind of hear from word of mouth from your friends, all of the different Nintendo IPs. But it wasn't until they released Pikmin with the new play controls for the Wii, where they made it so that you could actually use the Wii remote and pointer to actually command your Pikmin and do all sorts of things. And I absolutely loved that version of the game. I thought it was fantastic. And that's how I spent the most time playing Pikmin. And I still have the most hours playing Pikmin 1 through that Wii version.
Yeah, I don't remember what got me to actually pick up Pikmin. I think it was just because it was like an early release for the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
I just was like, although I say that, I don't think I got it when it released though. Because like it was during when I was pretty young, like the only time I would buy games was if I found them in the bargain bin for like $5 at Game Crazy.
Yeah.
So I guess I just like fumbled across it a couple years after release for $5.
Yeah, and you mentioned that it was one of the early GameCube games. And the reason why Pikmin actually came about was an old GameCube demo that Nintendo had made where they just threw like 100 different Marios on the screen at a time running around doing their own thing. And they're like, look at how powerful the GameCube is. It can handle 100 different tiny models of Mario, all with their own unique AI doing updates. And so Miyamoto took that and ran with it and came up with Pikmin, and here we are today.
Yeah, it was in a way a tech demo, which is also why Pikmin games typically look really good graphically.
Yeah.
Because like of all the properties for Nintendo put as much effort as I do into graphics, Pikmin is not one that you'd expect, but it's probably one of Nintendo's best looking properties.
Yeah, and I mean the HD version that they recently released, you know, it's not like they completely remade the game, but it still looks really good. You know, it's still pretty impressive, even if it's a GameCube game run on Switch. So
yeah,
I thought it was really nice.
Tech demo. I think that is why it's a bit on the shorter end. Along with Luigi's Mansion, which also was a pretty early GameCube game.
Yeah,
they were,
but
more
it's still
about,
really
like,
fun,
showing off the console rather than like showing new ideas for what the console can do, and they did a really good job with that.
And honestly, I think that as many times as I've played through Luigi's Mansion, because it's very fun, Pikmin actually allows for even more replayability, because there are different ways that you can challenge yourself and different ways to complete the game. Like you could try doing an optimized run where you try to use as few days as possible, and that's a way that you can play through the game again because it's short enough. You could try for a deathless run, like, you know, I sometimes try to do, but never actually pull off. You can try for like an any % run where you learn what ship parts are the most important. You only go after those and get done as fast as possible. And then there are even some secret bosses throughout the game that are only triggered through certain conditions. Like one of the bosses only appears before day 15 in one of the last areas of the game. So you have to rush your way to there if you want to fight that boss. There are also 2 other bosses that appear in the first area, but they don't start spawning until the 8th day or later. And then one of them spawns on the even numbered days and one of them spawns on the odd numbered days. So considering how Pikmin works out and how like non-linear it is in most ways, it's a very replayable game.
Yeah, and it's also very arcadey in the sense that it has like a high score system.
Yeah.
Keeping track of like deaths and points and what day you finish on.
Yeah. And they honestly took that arcadey nature a little bit farther with Pikmin 3, which I don't know if we'll get to it, but we might talk about Pikmin 3 another day. But Pikmin 3 added all sorts of challenge modes. Actually, 2 did too, didn't it? I don't think I ever played the challenge modes in 2.
Yeah, 2 had a lot of challenge modes. I don't know which one had more, if it was Pikmin 3 or Pikmin 2. I want to lean on Pikmin 2. Pikmin 2 had a lot of content.
Yeah, though I kind of lean towards 3 now because they actually added more challenges in DLC packs down the line. So, though I don't know. I haven't played much of the 2 challenges. But anyway, you know, they really kept with that arcadey nature. They made the latter games a little bit longer on the story front. They laxed a lot of the requirements, like the number of days that you have to complete the game, and instead really delved into that have fun and explore, but also here's some arcadey stuff if you really want to figure out how to optimize your strategies and play the game. So it's just fun to see how the series has evolved over time. But so Jordan, do you know how they managed to pull off the HD version of this game?
You were mentioning a bit last episode. It's an emulation of the Wii version, right? Yes,
though what's really odd is they didn't use any of the Wii's controls. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, it looks like they made it specifically for the Switch controls, right?
Yes, and even then, the motion controls that you add, that they added in, only are active when you're holding a Pikmin or are whistling. That's the only way you can use motion controls to modify the pointer, and it drives me crazy because I'd like to be able to freely move the pointer at all times, and I'm just not sure why they didn't just use that from the Wii. But anyway, it's definitely an emulation, so that might have been one of the limitations. Is they knew a lot of people would be playing in handheld mode or with like a Pro controller or something, so it was probably a way to be like, here are the controls like we had on the GameCube. Enjoy that a little bit more, and if you want motion controls, you can use it to fine tune your aiming or something.
There was one other change I noticed. Last episode, I was talking about how I missed that. Or I had thought that the second Pikmin was one that gave you control with the C stick for controlling your Pikmin. I was wrong about that. also existed in the first Pikmin. It's just that they changed the controls for these HD remakes, so you have to hold the L button to use the joystick to move your Pikmin around. Otherwise, it like moves the camera, which I don't think that was a thing in the original games. You just would kind of auto like correct the camera by pressing what then was the L button.
Yeah, to center. Yeah, you're right. I think being able to move the camera is a preferred feature for me because I'm not always wanting to command my Pikmin around. So I was totally fine with holding down the L button. It felt a lot like the Wii version where you had to hold down a button as well in order to direct them.
All right. I wish they would flip. I wish when you hold the L button, then you can move the camera because I feel like you move the camera less often than commanding the Pikmin around. Especially when you're like trying to avoid damage and all that. Like I'm constantly moving my Pikmin around.
Yeah. Especially when you're going down those like narrow passageways or like over the bridges and you're like, please don't fall into the water.
Yeah. Well, I also just command them during combat.
Yeah.
Just trying to get them to like avoid spiders stepping on them.
I think that one thing I forget going from Pikmin 3, which was the last Pikmin game that I had played before going to these HD versions, was how dumb the Pikmin AI is in Pikmin 1.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
They know what to do when they're near something, but man, they are not very reactive. They sometimes just will not do what you want them to do. It drives me crazy.
Bridges murder so many Pikmin.
Yeah.
Because the Pikmin do not know that they're supposed to like kind of condense while going across the bridge, and they'll just like walk off into the water, and then it's like, well, I can't call you back because there's like a wall.
Yeah. I mean, it even happens in Pikmin 2. I think it's a little bit better in 2.
Oh, it's way better in Pikmin 2.
It still happens to me.
Yeah, it still happens, but like you actually watch the Pikmin kind of like narrow up a bit more.
Though in 3, they actually really adjusted the AI. So I don't think I ever had a Pikmin while crossing a bridge fall into the water. They did if I like threw them or they got too close to the water, but that was a really nice change.
I also noticed that Pikmin don't typically like carry things on the shortest path to back to base. They kind of like have like set paths around the map, and they'd like go shortest path to that set path and then follow that set path.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. It's like there are actual lines drawn on the map for where Pikmin can actually walk. So
Which can sometimes mess things up because like they end up going to like this long roundabout way into monster areas that I did not like clear out yet.
Yeah, like in the second area in the first game, when you defeat a Snagret that has the part, if you don't clear the other 2 Snagrets, you run the risk of them carrying that part all the way back around right through the Snagrets again, and then the Snagrets just like eat your Pikmin right up. And I was like, oh, okay. I had to go like while they were carrying it through there, I just dumped all of my Pikmin and just like walked around and caught the attention of the Snagrets that were there. Like, just let my Pikmin go through, please.
I'm going to change my answer. Snagrets are actually my favorite monster in Pikmin.
Well, they can be absolutely devastating if you're not careful because they eat up Pikmin so quickly, one at a time, and you don't know where they're going to pop out, which is so cool.
I also like how they get a boss theme to them, and then also just their constant screaming is fun.
Yeah.
They feel threatening.
They really do. I like Snagrets a lot. I think that they're honestly one of the best design enemies. And it's probably why in Smash Brothers Brawl, the Pikmin stage, which is honestly one of the worst stages that they've ever designed, that had the slope with the water and the leaves and stuff there. A Snagret will sometimes appear, and so will a gigantic Bulborb. So I think the Snagrets and the Bulborbs are probably like the most iconic enemies in the series.
Oh, by far. Yeah. Bulborb, definitely.
Yeah, Bulborb for sure. Because they're everywhere. I really like fighting Snagrets. I really like fighting they don't have flames until the second one. I like the Bulborbs or the giant bull bears that are on fire. Those ones are pretty cool, but that's in the second game. The final boss is really fun too, especially because it's way harder in Pikmin 1 than it is in returning parts in Pikmin 2. And
way harder. A big part of that is that it actually jumps and like crushes all your Pikmin.
And it has like 10 times the HP.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it actually killed Olimar in my run, my most recent run.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it just kept jumping up and down.
I reset. I was so mad twice on that boss. The first time it jumped up and it squashed like 80 of my squad of Pikmin. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not letting that happen. And I reset the game. And then the other time it hit one of the bombs that I was carrying, and that bomb exploded immediately and killed Olimar and my whole squad of Pikmin. And I was like, okay, nope.
Bombs are terrifying.
They are.
Because you're holding them inside like your entire swarm of Pikmin, and if they go off.
Yeah. It's over. I did want to ask you, Jordan, did you fight any of the secret bosses in your last playthrough?
I did not. I didn't even know about the odd and even day bosses. I knew about the woolly or the shadow frog thing. I saw the egg and I just didn't go for it for some reason. Yeah. I should have just went and cracked it. I should have tried to fight it, but I was racing. To get all of those parts.
That's what I did too. I actually did attack it, and then it started killing all of the Pikmin that I had carrying stuff back to base. And so I was like, this day is over after he disappeared. I had totally forgotten about him as a boss. And the thing is if your Pikmin touch that smoke, they die instantly. Very hard boss. I think the community actually considers it harder than the final boss.
So what are the bosses that are on the even and odd days?
So one is like a giant gelatinous goo that has like a core in the center.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot like the boss in Pikmin 3, the final boss, at least at the beginning. It looks fairly similar at the very least. And then the other one makes a return in Pikmin 2, so you're familiar with the enemy. It's like this weird little stone creature that has 2 eyeballs on it, and it's got like kind of a hunchback. And it's pretty passive. It won't kill any of your Pikmin, but it'll stomp them straight into the ground if they get too close.
Oh, the golems?
Yeah, the golems. And what's cool about those golems is if they stomp your Pikmin into the ground, they immediately become flower Pikmin. So it's not so much like a bad boss. It just can be kind of tricky to defeat because it's constantly smashing your Pikmin into the ground. So those are the 3 secret bosses. And I think they're cool. It's really cool that there are secret bosses in that first game because, you know, my first playthrough, I never encountered any of them except for, I think, the gelatinous goop one, because I didn't go back to get the remaining ship part in the first area until way later, my first playthrough. The 2 bosses in the first area, those secret ones, they're not very hard to beat. You just need blue Pikmin basically for one of them. But the smoky brog thing, that one's terrifying. And what I remember most about that one is the spirit from Smash Bros. Ultimate. For whatever reason, that was one of my strongest ones playing the story mode.
Oh, yeah. What enemy do you think killed the most Pikmin in your run besides the final boss?
Honestly, like Wallywogs. Yep. The frogs that jump up in the air and smash. Yeah.
Exactly. That was mine. Those things slaughter so many Pikmin.
Well, because your Pikmin are so slow to get out of the way. You whistle them and then they're just like, huh? Did you need something? And whack, they get smashed. But yeah, no, that was definitely the the one that killed the most for me. I did have a couple of close encounters with some bull bears eating a massive amount of Pikmin at one point, and that was really sad. So
what day did you finish the game on?
I think it was day 7 or 8. I kind of cruised.
Oh, you finished the game on 7 or 8? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I reset the game when the final boss killed me twice. So I guess I would add 2 days and be like, yeah, I guess I beat it on day 9.
It's a lot faster than what I got. I ended on day 19.
Day 19? Wow.
Yeah.
That's still not bad. I mean, you went through the game at a pretty decent pace. I've actually played the first game a lot because I loved it so much. And so I still remembered where like all of the ship parts were and what a lot of the requirements were. So I was really raking in multiple parts a day pretty quickly.
I mean, that's really fast. I believe the world record pace is 6 days, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe it was 8. So 8 or 10 or something. I'd have to pull it up and look, but I did it pretty quick.
All right. So David's a lot better than I am at Pikmin. We'll have to do one of those. What are they calling the multiplayer fights in Pikmin 3 or 4?
There's something battles, right?
Yeah. I don't remember. And I was playing
Dandori battle.
Yeah, Dandori. I was going to say, like, I was just playing it like 10 minutes ago.
Well, I also did so many of the challenges and would actually like race against my little brother in Pikmin 3 a lot. So I got very good at efficiently getting my Pikmin. There are some crazy hard challenges in Pikmin 3. Like some of the DLC ones, I still haven't been able to beat on my own. I don't know. I like Pikmin a lot.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back and play Pikmin 3 again. One problem with that is I don't think I have all the DLC downloaded, and there's an issue with that.
Well, grab a used copy of Pikmin 3 for Switch because it comes with all of the DLC.
I guess I could do that. I just wish Nintendo would keep their servers up.
I know, right?
I understand why. Yeah.
Looks like you can get an open box copy for like only $40 for Pikmin 3 Deluxe right now.
That sounds a lot more than it should.
Well,
I miss
maybe
the good old days when I was a kid when a used copy meant $5.
Yeah, for real. You can actually, you can get it pre-owned right now on GameStop for $50. But on eBay, it looks like you can get it for $30 to $40.
Oh, that's so expensive for a used copy.
I know. Sorry.
Yeah. I blame the fact that all of GameStop's competition died over the years.
Well, you mean killed off by GameStop?
Yeah.
Because GameStop would actually go and buy used copies from other individuals, other sellers and stuff just to get them out of the playing field. But kind of talking a bit more about Pikmin 4, they released that trailer, right? Just, I guess, yesterday as of this recording. And
the overview trailer.
Yeah, the overview trailer. It was honestly like a really nice little overview of all of the different things that you can expect from Pikmin. They even talked about all of the different Pikmin types and how useful they are, which is really cool because Pikmin 4 brings back purple, white, flying, rock, and even adds some new Pikmin, which I just think is so great that they're all going to be in the main story. Because Pikmin 3 did not have them all. Pikmin 3 didn't have them all unless you were actually playing the challenge modes. So
yeah, and I was really disappointed that white and purple weren't in Pikmin 3, at least in the single player mode, which is like the main way I play Pikmin.
Yeah,
the challenge modes are fun and all, but they'll never be a replacement for the main adventure.
Right. And I really like the story in 3, just to kind of put that out there. But I am really excited to see what Pikmin 4 has in store. Before we started recording, you were telling me about the demo and some of those pieces. I think it would probably be best if we talked a little bit about your experience playing the demo with those new features for the overview. So why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
Yeah, so the demo came out. Before I get to some of my concerns, I will say the game looks very pretty. And it's nice to have Pikmin back. I'm worried that this is going to be my least favorite Pikmin.
Oh, that's a bummer.
From the demo. I don't.
But you only played through Pikmin 3 once, right? So
yeah, I only played through Pikmin 3 once, so I got to go back and play through that one again. I don't like how it kind of has like this auto assist for aiming. So like you basically just always hit whatever target you're going for, and that's a big thing with like mini Bulborbs. If your Pikmin lands on top of them, they just immediately die. And when you have auto aim assist, like they're just not a threat at all. Keep in mind, it's just a demo. So like maybe the game will ramp up in difficulty later on. I mean, obviously it will, but to what extent, we don't know yet. It seems like they retconned the story of Pikmin 1 rather than kind of continuing in a way. So like it's about Olimar crash landing and discovering Pikmin. It's like, oh, this is Pikmin 1. And there's like, and then also there was a dog. And it's like, I don't remember that in Pikmin 1.
Which is crazy because they just gave us Pikmin 1 HD. So
yeah. And then Olimar doesn't escape. So this is like the bad timeline or something of Pikmin. So now the Pikmin's timeline now has like converging or like different forked timelines.
So it's like Zelda all of a sudden.
Yeah. I don't like the dog. I don't like how you can't get rid of the dog. The dog is always there. Even if you tell the dog to stay at camp, it will still follow you. It'll just always run back to you, which is fine, I guess. It only counts as like 3 Pikmin, so it's not broken yet. I imagine you're going to be able to upgrade it in the future, though.
Oh, you can definitely upgrade it. That was talked about pretty. They showed a really big screen of all of the different upgrades you can give him by spending points or something. And some of them are even like it can increase his carrying capacity and his carrying speed, which is like, okay, he's going to be very good.
Yeah, the game seems to be leaning pretty heavily on him. The tutorial is very long and is almost entirely focused around the dog. Like you don't get your Pikmin for a good while into the tutorial.
Interesting. I really want to play through the demo because I am very interested in a lot of the different features that they've added. The overview trailer also showed that there was like a time rewind mechanic. Did they let you have that in the demo?
I have not unlocked it yet. As far as
so
I'm
it's
aware.
an unlockable. Good.
And even if I do get it, I'm not going to use it. I'm just stubborn that way. I think that Nintendo is a bit too concerned that the previous Pikmin games are not super approachable to newcomers. The day-night cycle and Pikmin dying in massive like numbers is just kind of, I don't know, off-putting. Like we already know that the day-night cycle has like disincentivized people from actually like trying out the game. Like some people just really do not like timers in games.
Yeah, but then you have those people that think that Pikmin 2 is awful because it doesn't have a timer in the caves. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you can't appease everyone.
And I wonder if the caves were also kind of a way to approach or to like deal with that too. But then Pikmin 3, they focused a lot more on time management than its predecessors.
Yeah, because the time management in Pikmin 3 was much more about like, you don't actually have a fixed number of days you have to leave the planet in. It's based on the resources that you collect. Like you have to gather fruit that get turned into juice. And if you run out of juice, it's game over. So you have to really be on top of getting enough juice. And what was really nice about Pikmin 3 is there was even like a hard mode that you could have where it decreased the amount of juice that you would get from every drop so that you really had to manage your time well. So I guess that was really the draw and difficulty of 3 was that kind of moving and extending timer that was based on how good you were doing.
Yeah. Pikmin 3 seems to be a lot more focused on time management. This seems to be the game that's going to be the least time management focused, which is kind of surprising coming right off of Pikmin 3.
Yeah.
Because caves are also returning in this one. And I'm pretty sure the timer's going to stop there.
And I hope the caves are really challenging. And I hope there are some caves where the dog is just like, that's too scary for me, and it won't go with you.
I'm pretty sure the dog is meant to be like a very, very critical part of this game.
Yeah, which is fine. It's like they aren't having you control multiple captains, at least as far as we can tell so far. They haven't outright said you never get a second or third in the case of Pikmin 3. So I guess this is their way of kind of balancing around the fact that you can't time manage like you used to in Pikmin 2 and 3 with the multiple captains. Because that was one of my favorite features in Pikmin 3 was the ability to like quickly switch between having 3 captains and like optimizing routes for the captains to walk and deal with different Pikmin and try to get as much done as possible during a day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to miss that in 4, I think. So
yeah,
at least I'll have 3 to go back and do that with.
Yeah, with Pikmin 3, you had the mini map.
Yeah.
So many tools. Pikmin 3 felt like an RTS. Like we talked about how Pikmin 1 and 2 are kind of pseudo RTS. Pikmin 3, it kind of like had that same stress level to it that RTSs do. It's obviously not as like deep or complex as StarCraft or Age of Empires, but
all right.
Managing your units definitely felt like an RTS in that game.
So it'll be interesting to see how Pikmin 4 shapes up, especially in the late game, because, you know, early game in even the first 3 games is really slow. Pikmin's tutorials are really handholdy, especially in 2 and 3. Pikmin 1, the tutorial is pretty slow because it's just, you only have one ship part that you can get and only one color of Pikmin and only Olimar. And so it's like, okay, you just kind of go through the motions, learning how to control Pikmin, and it's nice. It's pretty fast, and then you're done and you're off. And basically, you just get text boxes every time something new and interesting happens throughout the rest of the game to explain what's going on. But Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 3, especially Pikmin 3, have very long opening tutorials where they're like, this is what the Pikmin are actually capable of, and a lot more dialogue. Like,
yeah, Pikmin 4 is going to blow those two games out of the water.
oh, no.
I'm just going to warn you right now. It took like, I believe, over an hour before like they gave me free control to go do what I wanted, which is like half the game of Pikmin 1.
Yeah. It's going to remind me so much of the like tutorial-ish part of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, how you're just completely trapped for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I was telling my roommate, it feels like a Pokemon tutorial. So maybe once I get out of tutorial hell, my opinions will increase with Pikmin 4. But the demo was very, very tutorial hell, which like I've said, like I in extra credits as like said it, but like demos typically are worse for games than good.
Oh, Jordan, thank goodness. I just looked it up. Your discoveries in the demo will transfer to the main games.
Okay, good. All right.
So get the demo over with now so that when you get the actual game, you can just start going for it.
I do like the character creation tool. That's fun.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool addition. I will miss the characters. Olimar and Louie are just classics, along with the president of the Hocotate Freight Company.
Yeah.
And I also really like Alf, Brittany, and Charlie. I think that they're very fun character designs in the third game, too. So, but the character creation tool looks really cool, and they really do a good job showing off the Hocotation design differences that you can have. Plus, character creation is just fun in general.
Also, I did go inside one of the houses in Pikmin 4. So that's not a cave. That's just an area.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot more verticality, which is a very new approach to Pikmin. It feels that's
Pikmin is very
vertical
flat.
area. Yeah, Pikmin is typically very flat. Pikmin 1, like I spent most of my time with a top-down view, actually, just because you get a lot more precision with your aiming.
Yeah, and you can throw. It's almost like you can throw farther with the top-down view.
Yeah.
For the footage in this video, like on YouTube for this episode, yeah, I did not go into first-person view top-down view very often because it's kind of hard to watch, I think. And I typically play with it not top-down anyway.
Yeah. Well, so like I would go back and forth because with top-down you have control of where you're throwing, and then from the side angle you get more like depth of distance.
Yeah. Good point. Well, anyway, we're getting close to Pikmin 4. It's still crazy that we are getting Pikmin 4 after so long. Considering it took us forever to get Pikmin 3, and then it's also taken forever to get Pikmin 4. It's just a breath of fresh air to just know that the Pikmin series has not been abandoned.
The gap between Pikmin 3 and Pikmin 4 is longer than the gap between Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 3.
Well, that's crazy, but also doesn't feel that way because we did get the Pikmin 3 re-release. So to me, it's like, oh yeah, I played Pikmin 3 really recently on a new console.
Yeah, no, the gap between 3 and 4 is 10 years, and then between 2 and 3 was 9 years.
Miyamoto, why do you take so long with these games? It's like how he announced Pikmin 4 was in development like a year after Pikmin 3 came out, and we were like, sweet, Pikmin 4 is coming. But now it still took 10 years. That was something. So, if you haven't played through Pikmin 1, hopefully this episode helped convince you to get it. In my opinion, I still think that the Wii version is my favorite way to play, if only for the better pointer controls, because I felt like I had more control. And I didn't have to move Olimar around as much to handle aiming. But the HD version is really great. It runs incredibly well. It looks very pretty still, even if it's not a complete remake. And Pikmin is just really fun. Plus, you can get the dual pack for only $50, so you save $10 if you get Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2 HD together. Plus, you might want to play through at least some Pikmin before you pick up 4, just to kind of see where the series was. But I am with you, Jordan. I wish that this had come out like at least 4 or 5 months earlier.
Yeah. Although, now that I've played the demo of Pikmin 4, I guess it doesn't matter because they're retconning the first game anyway. So,
Well, there you go. Yeah. But then it's like, do the stories for Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 3 matter then? Because those are definitely direct sequels. At least 2 is. 3 could kind of be seen as up in the air. It seems like Olimar went back, but anyway, it's weird. Louie's there, so I don't know.
maybe 3's another alternate timeline.
Maybe. Maybe 3 actually comes after 4 in the timeline.
It could actually, yeah, because like Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 4 just cannot mesh with each other at all.
Yeah, I'll have to play the demo and see what happens with the story. Maybe Nintendo just doesn't care about story anymore. Now Pikmin is suddenly like Mario.
It's another Miyamoto game, so
True. Good point.
And I would much rather have Miyamoto be on Pikmin than any of the other games right now.
For real. For real. He does a good job with Pikmin. Pikmin is always really fun.
He's really good at like game design, but if you want any story in your games, it's you want someone else.
Story or cohesion within the game itself.
Yeah, story is an afterthought with his games. Like, I'm a gameplay first kind of guy, and even I'm just like, you guys probably could do a bit more.
Yeah, I believe in really good gameplay, but I like the gameplay to really help with a good story. That's kind of where I am. It's kind of one of the reasons I really like RPGs like Xenoblade, is those games have the story come first, and I just really love good stories.
Well, we can have a gameplay versus story debate later on.
We probably could. But anyway, Pikmin is not a game about the story, though there are some really really interesting lore theories out there. You could go watch some YouTube videos about that if you want. All that said, go pick up Pikmin and look forward to Pikmin 4, and we will definitely be talking about that as we get closer. I don't really have much else to say about our topics today, Jordan. Was there any final thoughts you wanted to add?
I think I'm good.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this somewhat shorter episode of the NintenFusion podcast. We sure appreciate you. Please feel free to leave us a like and a comment or a review. That really helps the algorithm promote the show for others. And please feel free to join our Discord by going to nintenfusion.com/Discord. But with all that said, thanks again for listening to the NintenFusion podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
See ya.